a world where education is your only weapon, but the battlefield is a society that refuses to see your worth. W.E.B. Du Bois, a name that echoes through history, wasn't just a scholar. He was a warrior armed with words, knowledge, and an unshakable belief in justice. He was the first African American to earn a PhD from Harvard, co-founder of the NAACP, and a fearless advocate for civil rights. But his story, it's bigger than facts and dates. It's about the power of the mind and the soul's fight for freedom. Born in 1868 in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, William Edward Burghardt Du Bois grew up in a predominantly white community. Unlike many black children of his time, he had access to education and saw firsthand the contrast between opportunity and oppression. But the moment that changed everything, the first time he felt racism when a schoolmate refused to take his greeting card because he was black. That rejection ignited a fire that would burn for the rest of his life. He excelled in school, earning a scholarship to Fisk University, a historically black college in Tennessee. But he didn't stop there. Harvard was next, where he earned his degree and later became the first African American to receive a PhD from the prestigious institution. His thirst for knowledge took him to Germany, where he was exposed to new philosophies and social theories. He saw a world where race wasn't a barrier to success and came back determined to challenge America's racial inequalities. In 1903, he published The Souls of Black Folk, a book that changed the course of history. He introduced the idea of double consciousness, the struggle of being both black and American, constantly seeing yourself through the eyes of a society that devalues you. This book was more than words. It was a mirror for Black Americans and a challenge to white America. Now here's where history gets interesting. Du Bois clashed with Booker T. Washington, another prominent black leader of the time. Washington believed in vocational training and economic progress, build skills, gain wealth, and slowly earn respect. But Du Bois? He demanded immediate equality, pushing for higher education and political activism. He argued that the talented 10th, the top 10% of educated black individuals, should lead the fight for civil rights. In 1909, Du Bois co-founded the NAACP, the organization that would become the legal arm of the civil rights movement. He used journalism as his weapon, launching The Crisis, a magazine that exposed racial injustices and inspired activism. But even after a lifetime of fighting, America rejected him. In 1961, at the age of 93, Du Bois moved to Ghana at the invitation of President Kwame Nkrumah, a strong advocate for African unity and independence. Nkrumah admired Du Bois' intellectual contributions and Pan-African activism and welcomed him as an honored guest. Du Bois renounced his U.S. citizenship and became a Ghanaian citizen in 1963. He was disillusioned with racism in the United States, especially after being targeted by the U.S. government during the McCarthy era. He found a new sense of belonging in Ghana, where he was respected as an elder statesman of the Pan-African movement. Nkrumah gave Du Bois the responsibility of directing the creation of the Encyclopedia Africana, an ambitious project aimed at documenting the histories and cultures of African peoples. One of the most striking contrasts in Du Bois's life between the United States and Ghana was how he was perceived and treated in society. In the U.S., despite his immense contributions to academia, activism, and civil rights, Du Bois was still subject to the realities of racial discrimination. As a prominent Black intellectual, he faced resistance from the white establishment, government scrutiny, and later in life, government harassment during the McCarthy era, when he was accused of communist sympathies. This hostility contributed to his sense of alienation in the country of his birth. In Ghana, however, Du Bois was treated with reverence and respect. Invited by President Kwame Nkrumah, he was given a home, granted Ghanaian citizenship, and recognized as a Pan-African elder statesman. Rather than being marginalized, he was embraced as a valued intellectual who could contribute to the nation's development. This level of acceptance provided him with a sense of belonging that had eluded him in the United States. Du Bois's political experiences in the United States were often met with resistance. As a scholar and activist, he was outspoken about civil rights, economic justice, and the need for systemic change. His early years as a co-founder of the NAACP saw him advocating for immediate equality for African Americans, a stance that put him at odds with the more gradual approach of other Black leaders. His later political stances, particularly his interest in socialism and critique of capitalism, led to increased government scrutiny, including being indicted as an unregistered foreign agent in 1951. In Ghana, he found an environment that encouraged his political engagement. Under Nkrumah's leadership, Ghana was the first African country to gain independence from colonial rule and was committed to Pan-Africanism. Nkrumah saw Du Bois as an intellectual ally and entrusted him with the task of compiling the Encyclopedia Africana, a project intended to document and celebrate African achievements, history, and contributions. This opportunity allowed Du Bois to engage in work free from the racial and political constraints that had limited him in the United States. In Ghana, however, Du Bois was treated with reverence and respect. Invited by President Kwame Nkrumah, he was given a home, granted Ghanaian citizenship, and recognized as a Pan-African elder statesman. Rather than being marginalized, he was embraced as a valued intellectual who could contribute to the nation's development. This level of acceptance provided him with a sense of belonging that had eluded him in the United States. The legacy of Du Bois in both the United States and Ghana continues to be significant. In the U.S., he is remembered as one of the most influential African American intellectuals, a leader in the fight for civil rights, and a trailblazer in scholarship on race and justice. However, his later years and radical stances were often overlooked in mainstream American narratives. In Ghana, Du Bois is honored as a revered Pan-African figure. His home in Accra has been preserved as the W.E.B. Du Bois Center, a museum and research institute that continues to inspire scholars and activists. His burial site in Ghana stands as a testament to his belief in the unity of African people and the importance of their collective liberation. W.E.B. Du Bois' legacy endures as a powerful force shaping both the intellectual and cultural landscapes of the United States and Ghana. In America, his scholarship and activism continue to influence discussions on race, justice, and civil rights, ensuring that his pioneering work is studied and honored. Meanwhile, in Ghana, his vision of Pan-African unity is enshrined in institutions that foster dialogue and liberation movements across the continent. Through these enduring influences, Du Bois remains not only a historical figure, but also a guiding light for those dedicated to justice, knowledge, and the liberation of all people. If you love history that empowers, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell. Until next time, stay inspired.